I didn't believe Katt Williams when he talked. What's the real story between you guys?
If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview.
I'm going to destroy Steve Harvey. And I'm going, wait, we're doing comedy. You know, we're not rappers, just ain't a beef.
Nobody expected this old feud to explode again. But now the internet is talking about Steve Harvey, Katt Williams, and Marjorie Harvey for an entirely new reason. What started as a comedy rivalry has turned into one of the most discussed celebrity controversies online, with fans digging up old interviews, resurfacing forgotten rumors, and debating whether Katt Williams was simply entertaining an audience or trying to expose something deeper. For years, Steve Harvey has built an image of success, family values, and personal growth. But after Katt Williams made several explosive comments during high-profile interviews,
"Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am." You said that about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her. Then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about?
social media users began connecting dots that many people had never paid attention to before. Suddenly, old stories about Steve's past relationships, rumors surrounding Marjorie Harvey, and long-forgotten clips started circulating across the internet. The biggest question isn't whether Katt Williams and Steve Harvey like each other. Everyone already knows there's tension there. The real question is why these comments continue to generate so much attention months later. Is there more to the story than fans realize, or is this simply another case of celebrity gossip taking on a life of its own? Today, we're breaking down the timeline, the reactions, the rumors, and why this story refuses to disappear. Nobody expected a comedy feud to turn into one of the internet's biggest celebrity debates. But that's exactly what happened when Katt Williams once again found himself at the center of a conversation involving Steve Harvey and Marjorie Harvey. What started as jokes, interviews, and viral clips quickly transformed into something much bigger. Suddenly, fans weren't just talking about comedy anymore. They were talking about relationships, old rumors, resurfaced interviews, and questions that have followed these celebrities for years. For a long time, Steve Harvey has been viewed as one of the most successful entertainers in America. From stand-up comedy to television, radio, books, and hosting some of the biggest shows on television, Steve built a brand centered around success, wisdom, and family values. Millions of people know him as the man giving advice, motivating audiences, and sharing lessons about life and relationships. That's why so many people were shocked when Katt Williams began mentioning Steve's name during interviews and public appearances. Some viewers immediately dismissed the comments as typical entertainment industry drama. Others felt there was more behind the story than most people realized. The situation exploded online after clips from Katt Williams' interviews started circulating across social media platforms. Everywhere people looked, there were reaction videos, commentary channels, podcasts, and fan discussions analyzing every word that was said. Some viewers agreed with Katt, others defended Steve. But regardless of which side people took, one thing became clear. Everyone was paying attention. What made the controversy even more interesting was the fact that this wasn't some random disagreement between two celebrities. Both men have histories that stretch back decades in the entertainment business. Both built loyal fan bases. Both have strong personalities. And both have developed reputations for speaking their minds. As more clips surfaced online,
If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview. Listen, in 20 years, won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and that she's never been interviewed anywhere.
fans began revisiting old interviews involving Steve Harvey. They started looking at past statements, career milestones, and moments from years ago that suddenly seemed relevant again. Social media users became internet detectives overnight. Every old video was being analyzed. Every comment was being discussed. Every appearance was being viewed through a completely different lens. Many people noticed something unusual. Instead of the conversation staying focused on comedy, it began shifting towards Steve Harvey's personal life. That shift changed everything. The internet has always been fascinated by celebrity relationships. Whenever a famous couple becomes part of a trending story, public curiosity immediately increases. People want details. They want timelines. They want explanations. And most importantly, they want to know whether the public image they see matches reality behind the scenes. That's exactly what started happening here. As Katt Williams' comments continued generating headlines, online discussions increasingly focused on Marjorie Harvey. Fans began revisiting old stories, previous reports, and public interviews connected to Steve and Marjorie's relationship. Some believed the attention was unfair. Others argued that public figures naturally face scrutiny when controversies become national conversations. Regardless of opinion, the topic was spreading rapidly. One reason the story gained so much traction was because Katt Williams has built a reputation for making bold statements. Whether people agree with him or disagree with him, audiences know that he rarely holds back. His supporters often argue that he says things other celebrities are afraid to say. Critics argue that controversial comments naturally attract attention and generate headlines. That divide created the perfect environment for debate. Every day seemed to bring a new reaction. Some content creators supported Steve Harvey completely. Others sided with Katt Williams. Many remained somewhere in the middle, simply trying to separate facts from speculation. Meanwhile, Steve Harvey eventually addressed some of the conversations that were spreading online. His responses generated even more discussion because fans immediately began analyzing not only what he said, but how he said it. Body language experts offered opinions. Podcast hosts shared theories. Social media users created countless posts breaking down every detail. The more people talked about it, the bigger the story became. Soon, the controversy evolved into something much larger than a disagreement between entertainers. It became a cultural conversation about celebrity image, public perception, and how quickly rumors can spread in the digital age. One side argued that successful celebrities are often targeted by online speculation. According to this perspective, fame naturally attracts criticism, and public figures frequently become subjects of rumors regardless of whether those rumors are true. The other side argued that public interest doesn't appear out of nowhere. They believe that when certain stories continue resurfacing year after year, people naturally become curious about why those stories refuse to disappear. That clash of opinions fueled endless discussions across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and podcasts. What's fascinating is that many younger viewers were learning about events from years ago for the very first time. Clips that had once received little attention suddenly accumulated millions of views. Interviews that had been forgotten were suddenly trending again. People who had never followed celebrity gossip before found themselves diving deep into timelines and old media appearances. The internet was essentially reopening chapters that many assumed had already been closed. As attention continued growing, another question started emerging among fans. Why does every mention of Katt Williams seem to generate such a strong reaction? Whether discussing comedy, Hollywood, or celebrity culture, his comments often create headlines that last far longer than expected. Some viewers believe that's because Katt has developed a reputation as someone willing to challenge powerful figures. Others believe his statements gain traction simply because controversy drives engagement online. Either way, his ability to dominate conversations remains undeniable. At the center of all this stood Steve Harvey, watching another wave of public discussion unfold around his name. For someone who spent years building a carefully crafted public image, the sudden return of old rumors and renewed scrutiny created a situation that few celebrities would welcome. Every response generated headlines. Every appearance created new talking points. Every interview produced fresh reactions. And then came the biggest twist. The focus was no longer primarily about Steve Harvey versus Katt Williams. Instead, public attention increasingly centered on Marjorie Harvey and the various theories, rumors, and online discussions surrounding her role in the story. Whether those discussions were fair or not became a debate of its own. But there was no denying one fact. The conversation had entered an entirely different territory. What started as a celebrity feud was rapidly transforming into a much larger controversy involving relationships, public perception, and questions that fans couldn't stop asking. And as more old clips, interviews, and statements began resurfacing online, the story was only getting started. As the conversation kept spreading across social media, the story surrounding Steve Harvey, Katt Williams, and Marjorie Harvey began entering a new and more intense phase. What used to be a simple comedy-related disagreement was now being treated like a full celebrity investigation by online audiences. Every platform seemed to have a different version of the story, and every creator was trying to add their own interpretation of what might be going on behind the scenes. The interesting part was how quickly public perception started shifting. At first, many people saw Katt Williams' comments as entertainment, something provocative but not necessarily meant to be taken literally. But as clips kept resurfacing and older interviews were re-examined, some viewers started believing there might be deeper context behind his words. Others pushed back strongly, saying the internet was overanalyzing comedy and turning jokes into conspiracy theories. This division created a digital battlefield of opinions. Steve Harvey, meanwhile, found himself in a familiar position that many public figures face when controversy starts trending online. Every response he made was instantly picked apart. Every clip of him speaking about criticism or negativity was reshared with new captions and interpretations. Supporters defended him by pointing to his long career, success, and influence in entertainment. They argued that people often misunderstand celebrities when context is removed from conversations. At the same time, critics and curious viewers continued digging through old material. Interviews from years ago suddenly resurfaced. Short clips were edited and re-uploaded with dramatic captions. Reaction videos multiplied rapidly, each one adding another layer of commentary to an already growing narrative. One major reason this story gained so much attention was because of how unpredictable internet culture has become. In today's digital world, a single clip can completely reshape public conversation within hours. A short interview, a podcast moment, or even a throwback video can suddenly become the center of worldwide discussion if it connects with current curiosity or controversy. That is exactly what happened here. As the online debate expanded, the focus slowly shifted away from comedy and moved deeper into personal speculation. Marjorie Harvey became a central topic of discussion, not because of any confirmed events, but because internet users began connecting unrelated conversations, old rumors, and resurfaced claims into one larger narrative. Some users argued that public curiosity was natural given Steve Harvey's fame, while others warned that social media often exaggerates and distorts reality. Despite the uncertainty, engagement continued to grow. Podcast hosts, YouTubers, and commentary channels started breaking down every available clip related to Steve Harvey and Katt Williams. Some focused on tone and body language. Others analyzed wording and past statements. A few creators tried to present balanced viewpoints, reminding audiences that public figures are often misunderstood when taken out of context. However, the most viral content usually came from more dramatic interpretations, which kept pushing the story further into trending territory. Katt Williams' role in the situation also became a major talking point. His reputation as a comedian known for bold, unfiltered commentary meant that audiences often expected unpredictability from him. Supporters described him as someone willing to speak openly about topics others avoid, while critics argued that his statements often blur the line between comedy and serious accusation, which can easily lead to misunderstanding. This contrast in perception played a huge role in how the story evolved. Every time Katt's previous interviews were reshared, viewers interpreted them differently depending on which side of the debate they were on. For some, his words felt like insight into hidden dynamics within the entertainment industry. For others, it was simply performance-driven commentary meant to entertain and provoke reactions. Steve Harvey's supporters emphasized his decades-long career and public image built on motivation, humor, and family-oriented messaging. They pointed out that celebrities often face repeated rumors that never lead to confirmed evidence. In their view, the internet was amplifying speculation without any solid foundation. But the opposing side argued something different. They believed that repeated resurfacing of certain stories, regardless of their origin, naturally raises questions in people's minds. According to this perspective, when discussions continue for years across different platforms, audiences start wondering why those narratives refuse to disappear completely. This clash of interpretations kept the discussion alive. As more creators joined the conversation, the narrative expanded beyond just Steve and Katt. It became a broader discussion about Hollywood culture, celebrity privacy, and how quickly online audiences build theories based on fragments of information. Some commentators described it as a reflection of modern media consumption, where entertainment, speculation, and opinion often blend together without clear boundaries. During this time, Steve Harvey's public appearances were also closely watched. Fans and critics alike analyzed interviews, speeches, and even casual comments. Some people believe his responses showed frustration with ongoing rumors, while others interpreted them as calm attempts to dismiss misinformation. The same clip could generate completely opposite interpretations, depending on who was watching. That is what made the situation so complex. Nothing existed in isolation anymore. Every statement was connected to another clip. Every reaction was compared to past moments. Every rumor was linked to previous discussions, creating a web of interpretations that became difficult to separate from reality. Meanwhile, the internet continued to evolve the story on its own. TikTok edits, YouTube compilations, and Instagram reels kept pushing the narrative forward. Even users who were not originally interested in celebrity drama found themselves exposed to clips due to algorithm recommendations. Once engaged, they began exploring older content, which fueled even more curiosity and discussion. At this point, the story was no longer controlled by any single person involved. It was being shaped collectively by millions of online users, each contributing their own opinions, assumptions, and interpretations. And as expected in situations like this, the lack of clear answers only made people more curious. The more uncertain the situation appeared, the more attention it received. The more attention it received, the more interpretations emerged. And the more interpretations emerged, the harder it became for audiences to distinguish between confirmed facts and online speculation. By now, the narrative had fully transformed from a simple entertainment industry disagreement into a viral cultural discussion. It touched on fame, perception, relationships, and the power of social media to amplify even the smallest fragments of information into global conversations. And as the internet continued searching for meaning within scattered clips and resurfaced interviews, one thing became clear. The story was far from over, and the next wave of reactions was already beginning to form. By the time the conversation reached its peak online, the situation had turned into something far bigger than anyone expected. What started as scattered comments, old interviews, and comedy-related tension had now evolved into a non-stop cycle of debate, reaction, and reinterpretation. Every day, new clips surfaced, and every clip added fuel to a fire that never seemed to go out. At this stage, the internet wasn't just discussing Steve Harvey and Katt Williams. It was actively rewriting the narrative through thousands of individual voices. Some people were convinced there was more to the story than what was publicly acknowledged. Others believed the entire situation had been blown out of proportion by editing, repetition, and social media exaggeration. Steve Harvey remained a central figure in the conversation, largely because of his long-standing reputation in American entertainment. Over the years, he has been seen as a symbol of success, discipline, and transformation. That image is exactly why any controversy linked to his name spread so quickly. When a public figure is strongly associated with positivity and stability, even minor allegations or rumors tend to attract outsized attention. On the other side, Katt Williams continued to be viewed as unpredictable in the eyes of the public. His reputation for blunt commentary and controversial interviews meant that audiences rarely ignored anything he said. Even when people disagreed with him, they still watched, shared, and debated his statements. That combination of influence and unpredictability kept his name at the center of ongoing discussions. As the online discourse intensified, Marjorie Harvey remained one of the most discussed names in the entire situation. However, much of what circulated was based on speculation rather than verified information. Different creators presented different interpretations, often shaped by their own perspectives or the type of audience they wanted to reach. This created a cycle where opinions were repeated so often that they began to feel like facts to casual viewers. At the same time, many voices online tried to bring balance back into the conversation. Some reminded audiences that celebrity culture often amplifies rumors without proof. Others pointed out that public figures frequently become targets of exaggerated storytelling simply because their lives attract attention. These perspectives, however, often struggled to gain the same traction as more dramatic content. The reality of modern social media is that emotional content spreads faster than neutral analysis. A shocking claim, even without evidence, can travel much further than a carefully balanced explanation. That dynamic played a major role in how this entire story unfolded. As discussions continued, viewers began revisiting earlier phases of Steve Harvey and Katt Williams' careers. Old stand-up clips resurfaced, past interviews were re-examined, and forgotten moments were brought back into circulation. People started connecting unrelated events across different years, building timelines that made the situation appear more complex than it originally was. In many cases, the same piece of content was interpreted in multiple ways depending on who was sharing it. A single interview clip could be seen as harmless comedy by one group and as hidden meaning by another. This difference in interpretation kept the debate alive for an extended period because there was never a single agreed-upon version of the story. Steve Harvey's public responses during this time were also heavily analyzed. Fans watched closely for tone, facial expressions, and wording, trying to determine whether he was frustrated, dismissive, or simply focused on moving forward. Each appearance generated fresh commentary, and each commentary sparked another round of discussion. Meanwhile, Katt Williams' previous statements continued to resurface, often detached from their original context. Edited clips and viral excerpts circulated widely, sometimes without the full interview attached. This made it difficult for casual viewers to understand the original intent behind his words, further contributing to confusion and debate. As the situation grew, it also became a reflection of how modern celebrity culture operates. In today's digital world, public perception is no longer shaped only by official interviews or mainstream media. Instead, it is influenced by short clips, viral posts, commentary channels, and algorithm-driven recommendations. This means narratives can evolve rapidly, sometimes in directions that no one involved originally intended. At its core, this story became less about proving anything and more about how quickly information spreads and transforms online. The combination of fame, curiosity, and fragmented content created an environment where interpretation became more powerful than clarity. Even as time passed, the discussion did not fade. Instead, it continued resurfacing in cycles. Every few weeks, a new clip or reaction would bring the topic back into trending conversations. This pattern showed how certain celebrity stories take on a life of their own once they enter internet culture. In the end, what remained clear was not a single truth, but multiple perspectives competing with each other. Some people saw entertainment industry tension. Some saw misunderstood comedy. Others saw hidden stories behind public personas. And many simply saw a viral moment that kept evolving over time. What made this entire situation stand out was not just the names involved, but the way the internet transformed a limited set of clips and comments into a massive, ongoing discussion that refused to disappear. And even now, as new audiences continue discovering the story for the first time, the conversation keeps growing, proving once again how powerful and unpredictable viral celebrity narratives can be. At the end of the day, this entire situation shows how fast a story can explode online when celebrities, rumors, and social media collide. From old interviews to viral clips and nonstop reactions, the conversation keeps growing every time people share, comment, or debate it. But now we want to know what you think. Do you believe this is just internet hype built from edited clips and speculation? Or do you think there's more to the story that people are still missing? Drop your opinion in the comments and join the discussion. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next update on trending celebrity stories just like this one. Because in this world of fame, comedy, and controversy, the next big story is always just one clip away.